you are on. And now I'll move to the third panel. We have heard views and outline policies in both sides of the Atlantic. Now let's move to those who are directly concerned with the application of these policies, and also those who can have new opportunities or face those challenges. I welcome Éli Tsifórou. She's the Director General of GAIA ΕΠΙΧΕΙΡΕΙΝ. GAIA ΕΠΙΧΕΙΡΕΙΝ is a Greek entity with a double mission to promote the interest of 150,000 farmers, 71 ag cooperatives, and offer them a high-end sustainability service by investing in knowledge and innovation. And after also Mr. Derek Haigwood, you are a farmer, sir, who grows soybeans, rice, corn, cotton, grain sorghum, and wheat. I hope I haven't forgotten any speculation from your side. Very impressive. In Arkansas, and you are also a board director of the US Soybean Export Council. But first, Éli, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Joao. Good afternoon to the colleagues from Brussels, and good morning to the colleagues from the other side of the Atlantic. I'm very happy and honored to participate in such an interesting event, and I would like to warmly thank and congratulate Farm Europe and the USDA for taking the initiative to organize it. Indeed, as we read in the invitation, considering the policy developments at both sides, there couldn't be a more perfect timing to establish this transatlantic sustainability dialogue. Well, I'm not a farmer myself, but I have been working with farmers and representing them for many years. And one first remark I would like to make is that I firmly believe that farmers all over the world, and I'm saying this with strong convictions, don't have that many differences. And without wanting to sound naive, and of course taking into consideration all of our differences, I would like to underline that, especially from the farmer's perspective, we need this dialogue, we need a common ground of understanding with our colleagues from the US, not only because the challenges and the broad policy objectives are common, but also because in the path towards sustainability, the entire farming profession, whichever part of the world it is practiced, needs to be defended and somehow reintroduced to society. I thereby believe that there is also common ground even for action, and I really look forward to the unfolding of the next steps of this dialogue that we are launching today. I would like to begin my brief presentation on how we address the sustainability challenge as Greek farmers, but also as members of the bigger EU farming family, by sharing with you a reflection on the sustainability term itself. I think that we all agree that we repeatedly witness in history the emergence and re-emergence of terms that kind of flood the public sphere and become dominating concepts. The risk always with this conceptual inundation is that in the end, terms may become empty of meaning and sort of ready-mades that we apply without really signifying or pointing to something concrete. In the case of sustainability that we are discussing today, I believe that it is up to farmers to bring meaning to the concept by engaging in concrete practices, and on the other side, that it is the policymakers' responsibility to design support and tools that allow for these concrete practices to flourish. So following this reasoning, I will first briefly present you what we are doing in Greece in order to bring sustainability into practice. And then based on our experience and the lessons learned, I will extrapolate a bit by bringing into the discussion some key messages at policy level. So our core mission as GAIA is to assist Greek farmers and agri-cooperatives in making a quality leap towards a more sustainable and competitive agriculture. And to achieve this, we have heavily invested in knowledge and innovation, and namely on a smart farming system called GAIA, supporting the decision-making process for thousands of Greek farmers and agri-cooperatives, based, of course, on the know-how brought in the coalition by our IT strategic partner. GAIA is currently one of the most ambitious smart farming projects currently applied in the EU when it comes to both its targeting and implementation. And present, because it is a work in progress, it keeps evolving. It is applied in 65 areas in Greece, in 33 different crops, covering more than 100,000 hectares. And it is also being applied in different countries in the EU and non-EU countries like Spain, Portugal, Poland, Cyprus, and Ukraine. So how does it work? We collect data from 4 different categories of data sources. First of all, from the sky, through the open EU Copernicus satellite system. From the field, with proximity sensing data that are acquired through a network of telemetric stations that are placed in the fields and that measure atmospheric, soil, and plant parameters. From in situ observations and sampling, this is where the practical empirical knowledge of the farmer and the advisor play in, and also the collaboration with research institutes for what concerns plant and soil analysis. And the 4th source of data, which is essential, is the data that comes from farmer himself, meaning from the digitalization of the farmer's actions in the field. The farmer has to continuously feed in the system on his practices on the field if we want to calibrate it in the next cultivation period. So all these complementary types of data and knowledge, technological, scientific, practical, organizational, etc., are used to provide smart advice to farmers on 3 main components: fertilization, irrigation, and plant protection. And of course, advisors hold a key role as innovation facilitators in this process, not only because they provide the smart advice, but because they also bridge the gaps and guarantee continuity and trust between the different actors involved. The business model that we have adopted is smart farming as a service, which means that it is investment free for the farmer. It is us, the coalition, GAIA, that is in charge of the investment cost, and the farmers have only to pay for the advice provided, which is approximately estimated between 1.5 and 3% of the annual output value of the undertaking. In practice, it works like in the telecom sector, where operators put in place and maintain the infrastructure, and the end user pays only for the service. We have achieved significant results up so far. I will drop some numbers. In crop protection, we arrived to 63% reduction in olive growing, in fertilization to 65% in the case of table pitches, in irrigation in 45% in cotton. The yield increase varies between 8 to 18%, and the overall economic benefit coming from the input reduction and the yield increase varies from 25 to 36%, the higher percentage we achieved in olive growing. This means, I believe that these figures showcase that sustainable intensification is possible thanks to digital technologies, and of course that economic and environmental objectives can be combined. A few key messages in terms of policy level out of our experience. First of all, economic and environmental objectives go hand in hand. And through our best practice, I think that this is evidenced, and the CAP rightly encourages this kind of approaches. Then, in order to democratize the large-scale diffusion of digital technologies among all EU farmers, we need investment support, and we need to build trust through effective communication and education among farmers and advisors. Another point, data should become meaningful for farmers through the provision of technologically enhanced advisory services, and this is why the CAP rightly places an ever-growing emphasis in farm advisory services that will be enriched in the future policy by the enormous potential of digitalization. And then fourth point, we shouldn't ignore the potential of data sharing with all the different parameters, of course, that we have to take into account, because data sharing and interoperability at EU level could be a great asset for a swifter double economic and environmental performance for EU agriculture as a whole. So I'll put a full stop here and thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you so much, Ellie. There is one that might be asked to all of you, but I will give the floor first to you, Mr. Haygood, and you, Ellie, if you want to start, and then after Dr. Hutchins and Pierre, you are most welcome, which is something certainly true here in Europe, but I believe also probably in the United States, which is a growing lack of trust from the public on farmers and farming. What are your views on that? Ellie, do you want to have a start?
Yes, this is a very interesting and timely question. I think Mr. Lins mentioned it at the beginning. We experienced a very difficult vote on the Common Agricultural Policy regulations in the Parliament. I think that in the last years, decades maybe, there have been so many things that changed in the farming profession and in the environment around the farming profession. I mean, the markets function in a very different way than some decades ago. The challenges are bigger and they are much more complex. And in the meantime, the farmers somehow lost the connection with society. In terms of communicating what the farming profession is all about and how it keeps evolving in this ever-changing and more complicated context. This is not an easy task, but I believe, and this is something that my organization and at national level at least we try to do, is that we focus a lot of our energy and our forces in trying to open up to society, not only to the consumer as the final buyer of our products, to the broader society in order to bridge the gaps and make them understand what it means to be a farmer today. I think that this should also be an objective, a policy objective. I've studied communication. I believe that investing in communication can have a very positive long-term impact, not only to the farmer himself, but also to the policy that we also need to defend. So effectively communicating in order to bridge the gap with society, not only with the consumer. And the last remark, let's not forget that in the agri-food chain, and this is one of the key messages that we address to the Greek audience in all our communication efforts, the farmer and the consumer are the weakest parts of the agri-food chain, and that linking them and trying to bridge the gaps between these weakest parts of the food chain can only be to the advantage of both. And I think that digital technologies give us an enormous potential to bridge this gap. Thank you.